The following announcement has been paid for by the new Howell order.
Whether the team is giving us the highest of highs or the bluest of blues, we'll cover it all here on Commanders Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So, the Sam Howell disrespect has reached its apex. And you know what? At this point, I'm not even upset anymore because the season is here. The time for talking is done. Sunday starts the NFL season. It is the beginning of new Howell order. The takeover officially begins. And so I don't have to worry about what people think he's going to do or don't think he's going to be able to do. But we still are a few days away from actual NFL action. Thursday Night Football kicking the season off, and then 3 days later, the Commanders take the field against the Arizona Cardinals. And so there's still a little bit more time for a few more last-second jabs for the media and sports books and the talking heads and the pundits to get in before Sam Howell's able to prove all of them wrong. And so I think we've reached the apex of the disrespect. We witnessed this last year, if you recall. Last season, it was a similar sports book. I think it was the exact same sports book with a similar prop, just like this one. All right, similar bet that you could put down on the first quarterback to be benched in 2022. It was Carson Wentz. I think he was at number 2, just like Sam Howell is this year. Let's take a look at this list. So this is from at ML Football. _ ML Football says, very interesting, the first NFL quarterback to lose their starting job during the 2023 regular season odds. So we did this last year. We went through this last year with Carson Wentz, if you recall, on this very program. It's very similar. I think Wentz was second last year, if not second, like third. He was pretty near the top, pretty high on that list. As you can see, the Buccaneers with Baker Mayfield, 2-1 odds. So it's almost even money that Baker Mayfield's going to be benched. And I think that's ultimately going to happen at some point this season. We'll see what happens with Baker Mayfield. But as you can see at number 2, there's our guy, Sam Howell, 4-1 odds. Vegas is telling us again, they do not expect Sam Howell to make it through the entire season as the starter. With Carson Wentz last year, there was the mental fragility of the situation, but it was more about health, and then ultimately, that's what got him benched last year. His play might have gotten him benched eventually, but Ron was going to roll with him as long as he could. If we started winning games, they weren't going to bench Carson Wentz. They won that Bears game. It wasn't pretty, but it was effective. They probably wouldn't have won the following week had he played against Green Bay. Let's be honest with ourselves. But nonetheless, we also factored in health as a reason, and that's what ultimately happened to Wentz. I'm not factoring that in with Sam Howell. They're essentially saying he's going to stink this season. And I think something else that they're factoring in, I don't give a shit about this personally, but they also are factoring in who's behind him. Jacoby Brissett, a fully capable backup quarterback with Ron Rivera needing to win this year. A lot of people think that leash is going to be pretty short on Sam. I don't believe that to be the case, because if Sam isn't good, they're fired regardless. Jacoby Brissett's not going to save your job. Okay, let's make that abundantly clear. I think we can all acknowledge that. Not all of us, because there are some delusional folks out there that believe Jacoby Brissett can win you enough football games to get you to the playoffs and win you something of note. Jacoby Brissett, if that were the case, he wouldn't have been on 4 or 5 teams previous to this and be a career backup quarterback. He is now officially a career and a professional bridge quarterback. So after this year, he's down a 1-year deal in Washington. He'll go on to the next bridge opportunity where he'll be a great mentor in the locker room for some young quarterback, sort of like Andy Dalton is now. Andy goes from spot to spot, can be the starter week 1 if you need him to while you're waiting for your young quarterback, i.e. Justin Fields, to develop and be ready to go. That's it. That's what he's doing in Carolina right now with Bryce Young, even though Bryce Young's going to start week 1. That's what Jacoby Brissett has effectively become, a veteran that they like in the locker room, friendly guy, great teammate, show you the ropes, show you how to be a professional. If you need him to start in a pinch for a week or 2, he can do that. But we know he's not a capable 17-game starter that can win you 10, 11 games. We know what his upside and ceiling is already in this league. So the leash to me is the entire season for Sam Howell. There'll be ups, there'll be downs, but 4-1 odds is flat out disrespectful. It's a slap in the face. You know what? That's the apex of the disrespect. And I'm okay with it because the time for talking is done. We're officially here now, and he gets to shit on everybody. And it starts on Sunday against the Arizona Cardinals, week 1. But this is the icing on the cake. This is the last slap in the face. No longer do we have to turn the other cheek. We're out of cheeks to turn. Okay? Now it's time to stop slap. It's time to start slapping hoes back. Okay? They slap you. Now we're gonna be like holy, we're gonna be like Moly now. He slap you, hey buddy, hey, nah, don't slap me in my face, I'm gonna slap you in your, hey, it's a reflex. Alright? The disrespect has reached a crescendo. Now it's time to start giving this shit back. So I don't care about all these other names, but you look at some of these other guys on this list. Desmond Ridder has better odds of lasting this year. Jimmy Garoppolo is on this list. I mean, you look at some of these names. I mean, I get it. Look, I don't really care who's beneath him on this list. I mean, what are you going to do if you bench Justin Fields? There's nowhere for you to turn, right? I get some of these situations, but Desmond Ridder could easily be benched in favor of Taylor Heineke. And we know Heineke can win ball games. He may not win you enough to make it to the playoffs, but we know he can win you some ball games. He's done it, right? You surround him with enough talent. You know he's capable of getting something done for you. But again, he's number 2 on the list. Disrespect at its finest. It's time to start serving up a nice heaping of, bitch, I told you so. And not in this regard in terms of, that's what they think is going to happen. I'm talking about, I told you he was going to do this shit and he was going to wreck shop and he was going to put all of y'all on blast. It's time to start doing that shit. So, let's get to in other news. All right. And we heard from our guy, Ronald Rivera, today. We also had the first look at the official DEPI. The official depth charts were released today. So I had a chance to take a look at that. We'll talk about that tonight. Jameson Crowder making a visit. It was funny. Somebody brought it up on a stream like maybe a week or 2 ago when he got cut by the Giants. So it had to be last week. And I was like, nah, he can't come back home. And Jameson Crowder was like, when I heard that, when I was back home. He's coming to visit. It can make some sense here. We'll get into that when we get to the depth chart and why a guy like Jameson Crowder could make some sense for this football team. Then, got to talk to you guys. I got to be transparent with you about something. I haven't been totally upfront with you guys about something, so I'm going to do that today. And so I'll save that for the tail end of the show. But let's start with Ronald Rivera. Let's start with Ron and his presser today. So Ron was happy-go-lucky. The start of the season, his 13th in the NFL. He's feeling good. Feels really good about this roster. He feels really good about Sam Howell and the prospects of this football team and what he's built. And you should feel good when you're playing the Arizona Cardinals, who everybody perceives to be the worst team in the NFL this year. So that also helps going into week 1. You got to take advantage of this opportunity that's been given to you for the second year in a row. You're at home against a team that everyone generally doesn't think is going to be all that great. Last year we had Jacksonville, which, with Trevor Lawrence, young upstart team, but there still was a first-year head coach in Doug Peterson. You just knew there were going to be some growing pains there, so you felt like Washington needed to get off the schneid and get off to a fast start. Same thing here. Ron talked about getting off to a fast start. Ron has turned into the king of obvious. Like, he's turned into somewhat of a Captain Obvious. Like, he says, the funny thing is he will give a quote from somebody as if he's dropping a gem. Like, this person dropped a gem on his melon. Like, he just said some really, really philosophical, deep shit. And he said, yeah, John Madden once told me, so I'm thinking, John about to drop a gem on his melon. And then John dropped the shit that he used to drop on us during his telecast, which was some really simple, obvious shit. You want to win your first game of the season because then you start in the plus. You start in the positive. And I'm like, yeah, Ron, that's what happens when you win the first game of the season. You're not working from a deficit. He says, so you don't want to lose the first game because then you're working from behind. You're in a negative. Yeah, I think that's how that works, Ron. Last time I checked, if you're 1-0, you're in the positive, right? You're one game over 500. If you lose the first game of the season, you're 0-1, and you're working from a deficit. Yeah, I think that's how that works. So, yeah, and Ron, he would have thought you just dropped the gym on our melon. Like, whew, total mind blow. But he talked about, the Cardinals and the unique situation that they provide this year because of this whole new situation, new coach, new GM, new staff, new quarterback, obviously. So many moving parts. They haven't announced who their starter will be. So, you're having to piece and mix and match things from, previous locations and stops and, philosophical beliefs and things you've seen on tape where they were previous to where they are now. Kind of look at some of the players that they had, in previous years that are on the roster now, kind of see what their strengths and weaknesses are, how they were utilized in a successful manner in the past, and go about it that way. And so he's like, yeah, it's a bit of a challenge, but, we can prepare. We've had multiple weeks to be able to do so. So we feel really comfortable and confident that we'll be ready for the challenge. He talked about, some of the injuries, specifically on the defensive line, and how we should be able to circumvent that. Those guys will be back, though. He's like, hey, F.A. and Fedarian Mathis both have been placed on short-term IR, so these guys will be back, so we expect them to help us at some point. But, in the meantime, we feel really good about our defensive line. That's why we kept as many guys on the active roster and the 53-man roster on the defensive line as we did, because we knew we were facing some of these challenges. You talked about Deron Payne getting paid and how he expects Deron to continue to be human-like, to be, business, like he just was all business last year, and expects him to have another big year. Talked about what you see when you think a big season could potentially be on the horizon. Ron has had one of those, 2015. We can say what we want, and a lot of people have beaten Ron up. And you know what? Rightfully so, for his lack of success in terms of winning seasons. But you can't take 2015 away from him. All right. And that's one of the best seasons we've seen from a team collectively in the last 7-8 years, probably more like 10 to 15 years. I mean, who's went all the way to the Super Bowl only losing one game? The Chiefs have never done that. Now they didn't win it, and that's the problem. Ron's not a Super Bowl winning head coach. But if they would have won the Super Bowl and went 15-1, you're talking about one of the greatest NFL seasons we've seen in recent memory. So Ron was a part of that, right? They got hot, caught lightning in a bottle. Cam Newton played at the MVP level. The running backs were playing their asses off. The defense was dominant. This was a team that had it clicking, and Ron's like, hey, it's just about consistency. It's about seeing it every single day. And we feel like we're getting to a point where the consistency is going to be the key. And if we can do that, and we've had that throughout camp and into the preseason, but that doesn't matter if it doesn't happen in the regular season. So now, it's time to see what all this hard work we've put in, if it pays off, and if it pays off in the form of consistency, because that's what builds winners, is being consistent, snap in, snap out, day in, day out, play in, play out, quarter in, quarter out, game in, game out. And that's how you build winners. And so we'll see. Ron talked about a few other things, but nothing really noteworthy. He talked about the fact that we'll find out more about the injury situation. He was really excited to make sure that he didn't tell us anything, but we'll find out tomorrow. He's like, hey, you'll find out everything tomorrow. He seemed like he was excited about tomorrow. So sounds like he's got a lot of good news, but he also said the Cardinals ain't telling us shit. I wouldn't tell us nothing if I was them, and I ain't going to be telling them shit about Terry and Chase and all that stuff, but I think those guys are going to play in week one. That's just my opinion, but I could be wrong. We'll see. Ron was too upbeat about that stuff for me, in terms of his body language and the way he was handling the media. If he was a little bit more standoffish, he might have gotten some bad news. I think he feels really good about where some of those guys are. Don't forget, Jonathan Allen was dealing with plantar fasciitis towards the end of the preseason. Obviously, Chase Young with the stinger and Terry McLaurin with the toe sprain. So, again, got some big guys on this roster dealing with some things as we head into week one. We'll see what their statuses are tomorrow. But let's look at the official. This is the official, not the unofficial. This is the official Deppy. The first time we've laid eyes on this. Let's take a look at it and see what this has in store for us. So no real big significant changes to the official Deppy from the unofficial Deppy. We kind of knew what everybody's role was going to be, specifically with the starters, but we can get into in depth with the backups and the depth on the roster in particular, and then special teams. We can talk about that a little bit because I think it ties into one of the things that I alluded to just a bit ago. So as you look at the offense, Terry McLaurin, Charles Leno Jr., Sadiq Charles, Nick Gates, Sam Cosmi, Andrew Wiley, Logan Thomas, Curtis Samuel, John Dotson, Sam Howell, and Brian Robinson Jr. So no changes there. That was what we fully expected, top to bottom, all 11 guys. Nothing to see there. Defense, Montez Sweat, Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen, Chase Young, Jamin Davis, Cody Barton, Kendall Fuller, Benjamin St. Juste, Emmanuel Forbes, Cam Curl, and Derek Forrest. Again, top to bottom, all 11 guys. We knew exactly who our starters were. No surprises there. Get to special teams, Tressway, Joey Sly, are your punter and kicker, place kicker, and then Tress is your holder. Cam Cheeseman, long snapper. Antonio Gibson is your kick returner. He was listed as the primary kick returner on the unofficial Deppy, but we thought there was a chance, obviously, that he could be relieved of those duties by Kaz Allen should he make the roster. Obviously, Kaz Allen did not make the roster, so hence Antonio Gibson right now, for now, is your starting kickoff return man, which we don't have any issues with because he was actually pretty good last year in that role on a limited basis. And then Dax Milne, who you guys all loathe as our punt returner, who I am fine with because at the end of the day, the most important thing, I watched a game, college football last night, where a punt returner made a poor decision to try to pick a ball up, took his eye off of it, he muffed the ball, didn't get on it, it squirmed out, and it was recovered, and it changed the whole game at the beginning when they were dominating. You need, the first thing your punt returner should do is secure the rock. Okay, decisions are going to be key. Should I catch it? Should I let it go? Should I fair catch it? Should I return it? These are all a part of that decision-making process. But the number one thing you must do is secure the rock. If you decide I am going to catch it, you better catch it. And Dax hasn't failed us in that regard. I'm knocking a little something. I don't want to bring any angst to that, but that's the one thing we can count on him to do, if nothing else. And that's all I'm really looking for at this point until we truly get a guy that is a true punt returner, which Kaz Allen was not. He did not do it in college. I want a true, pure punt returner, a guy that had 2 returns for touchdowns in college, who's been returning punts since high school. That's the guy that I want, or did it in college. That's the guy that I want. We don't have that guy, so I'll just roll with Dax Milne. I'm okay with that. Byron Pringle, keep him in mind for kickoff returns. I could see a situation where something happens, or Antonio Gibson, they just say, you know what, too valuable. If he starts to get that engine revved up as a pass catcher out of the backfield and he's running the ball very effectively, I could see them saying, you know what, AG, let's get you out of here. Let's get AG out of here and let's get Byron Pringle back there. And he can do it. He's shown that he can do it. He's run one back for a touchdown in his NFL career. So keep that in mind. Jahan, as you can see, is a backup at punt returner. They're not going to put him back there. Ron said last year that they would only put him back there in situations where the field was cut in half. So that means a team is punting from their own end zone. They expect a short kick right around midfield, and they want to give Jahan an opportunity with a short field to return it for a touchdown. They never intend to put him back there in a situation where it's a normal punt. Guy's going to put his leg into it. It's a 62-yard net kick, and they're not going to put Jahan back there in those situations. So I don't think we're going to see him back there too often. As far as the other backups are concerned, De'Ami Brown, Cornelius Lucas, Chris Paul, Ricky Stromberg. That's big because Ricky Stromberg was not your backup center when the unofficial Deppy came out. He was the third string center, right? This is what allowed them to cut Tyler Larson. They are very comfortable with the growth and process and the development of Ricky Stromberg to the point now where he's the primary backup. If something were to happen, along the offensive line, on the interior, specifically at center, Ricky Stromberg's the first guy that's going to go in. So they feel really good. And you know what? That makes me feel good because this is a guy you spent a third-round pick on. And if something goes awry, he should be ready to get in there and help. And so I guess they feel like that SEC training that he's had it has prepared him for this opportunity, and he's ready to take advantage of the situation. Chris Paul and Trent Scott round out the offensive line. John Bates is TE2, which, some of you are going to get bent out of shape about that with Cole Turner being TE3. Not a big deal. Not a big deal at all because, one, they love John Bates as a blocker. Two, if they want Cole Turner in the game, he's going to be in the game. It doesn't matter that he's TE3. If they've got a formation for him or they got a package where they want to get him and Logan Thomas, him being Cole Turner on the field at the same time, if they got a package where they just want Cole Turner on the field with 4 different receivers or 3 receivers and 1 back and himself on the field, they'll put him on the field. So it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things where Cole Turner is listed on the depth chart. He's going to play a lot. So Dax Milne is backing up Curtis Samuel, Byron Pringle backing up John Dotson, Jacoby Brissett obviously backing up Sam Howell, and Antonio Gibson and Chris Rodriguez round out the running back position. On the defensive side of the football, Casey Toohill, John Ridgway the third, Adula Anderson and James Smith-Williams make up your backups on the defensive line. Because obviously no Fedarian Mathis means Adula Anderson, a guy that they signed in the offseason, who they cut but brought back, is one of your primary backups along the defensive line. Khaleke Hudson, David Mayo are your 2 backup linebackers. We only have 4 on the roster, so go figure. Quan Martin, Christian Holmes, Danny Johnson, Jeremy Reeves, Percy Butler are your backup defensive backs. So again, nothing really there to see. And then you see, your third strings, your emergency depth, KJ Henry, Andre Jones, Chris Rodriguez, Mitchell Tinsley, Tyler Larson, Cole Turner, Curtis Hodges. Those guys are primarily rookies, young guys that we don't expect to see the field all that much. Rodriguez may get a couple of opportunities here and there. I think they'll be sparse, but this is going to be the Brian Robinson Jr. and Antonio Gibson show for the most part. So here's where things get interesting. So I brought up the fact that we got a visit from Jameson Crowder. JC Ice, yeah. Nothing's better than ice. JC Ice. Haven't done that in a long time. And it's always cool to go back. I'll be on IG and somebody will one of these Washington IG accounts will have like a throwback to where they're playing all of Jameson Crowder's greatest plays and things of that nature. And you're just looking like, man, he was dynamic for us. There was a little stretch there where JC Ice was the man. But I think that time is come and gone. I think he's past his prime, long gone. And so they're bringing him in here to see what he can provide as, I think, not only a slot receiver, but also as a punt returner. Can he rekindle some of that magic as well? If he can field and return punts, and I really don't want to go down that road again. Gone down that road, had fun, then it turned disastrous. I'm good, I know some of you are nostalgic. You don't know where they went at, but you're just trying to bring the good times back. I'm like, nah, man. We had our fun. We can reminisce like MJB, but at this point, I'm ready to move forward. If the Buffalo Bills and the New York Giants both decided that, hey, man, he's not good enough to help anymore, I don't think we should necessarily. Now, again, some of you would probably prefer him over Kaz Allen. I just told you why, or excuse me, not Kaz Allen, Dax Milne. I just told you why I prefer Dax Milne. He is literally the antithesis of Dax Milne in the regard of fielding the football. So why would I want to, if I'm going to do that, if I'm going to give Jameson Crowder a chance, you just might as well bring up, you might as well just bring up Kaz Allen. I mean, what are we talking about here? That doesn't make any sense. So he's a better receiver, obviously, than Kaz Allen, and maybe at this point of his career, still a better receiver than Dax Milne. That remains to be seen. Dax had some drops in that third preseason game, or one in particular. So that could, be something that they're thinking, hey, Crowder can upgrade the receiver position, and we still think he can do something for us in the punt return game. We'll see. Look, they're just kicking the tires. Nothing may come of this. They may sign him. They may not sign him. They may sign him to the practice squad, right? Who knows? We'll see what happens. Anyway, another thing that I wanted to talk about. Week 1 odds are out. And the over-unders for all the games as well have been released for week 1. And respect has been given to Washington, as it should. We're playing the worst team in football, but I don't think it's enough respect. I think the number that they set it at is a sign of how they feel about both teams, honestly. If you truly think the Arizona Cardinals are the worst team in football, which I think Vegas does, and I think most of us do as well, then Washington being a 7-point favorite at home isn't a big enough number. If this were Dallas, if this were Philadelphia, if this were the Giants, this number would not be 7. It'd be like 9 or 10. If this were Kansas City, this number might be 13. Now, we're not the Chiefs, right? But what I'm trying to convey to you is they're saying, hey, Washington's better than Arizona, but who isn't? Okay, 7 at home to the worst team in football, week 1, who doesn't have a quarterback? This number should be higher, to be honest with you. So what they're essentially saying is, hey, you're better than them, but you're not that much better than them. Okay, again, sort of a backhanded compliment. Hey, you're going to beat them, but you're not going to beat them as bad as you think. Okay. Again, I'm out to prove everybody wrong. I'm in my petty bag right now. Like, everybody's on the shit list, personally, at this point. So, something else I found really funny was the over-under for this game. The number is set at 38. So, again, if you think Arizona stinks and they're not going to score a bunch of points, you're essentially saying, don't think you're going to score that many points either. 38 is a chump number. It's a chump number. 24, I mean, that's essentially, they're saying the score is going to be, 24-14. That's essentially what they're saying. Washington, and again, they're basing this off of Sam Howell is our starting quarterback, and Washington hasn't scored a bunch of points each of the last 3 seasons, so what's going to change now? We're saying, a lot's changed. Quarterback, offensive coordinator, skill position players, offensive line's better. A lot's changed. But they're like, nah, prove it to me. I get it. I'm not mad at them. I'm not glad at them either. 38, we should be scoring 31 in this game by ourselves. Now, if they only score 7, that's their problem, not ours. But we should be scoring 30-plus points in this game by ourselves. I want 38 by ourselves in this game. So I hope this is over, and it's over because of us, not because of them. Not because they scored 24, but because we scored 38 by ourselves, and if they scored 3 or 7, I'd like to shut them out, personally. But I'm not going to be greedy. If it's 38-10, so be it. But I'm looking to score 38 by myself. Anyway, last order of business. So, full transparency. I haven't been totally upfront with you guys about something that I'd started last year, which was giving away tickets. So, a lot of you probably joined the Mob Squad because you have a chance to win free tickets. And why wouldn't you? And I don't have them anymore. So, okay, let me explain myself. So, when it was time to renew the tickets, I was talking to the rep, and the rep was really salty with me. He was really, really abrasive with me. And I was like, where's this coming from? He was kind of pressuring me, and I was like, hey, bro, look, this is my situation. I still want my tickets. Here's what I'm trying to do. Can you work with me? And he wasn't really trying to work with me. And he was kind of giving me the cold shoulder. And then I got pissed off, and I was like, you know what? Now it's about principle. And you have to keep this in mind. At the time, Daniel Snyder was still the owner. So I was, you know what? F this shit. I don't got to put up with this. I ain't putting no more money in this man's pocket anyway. So you know what? Nah, F that. I don't even want the tickets no more. So I wrote them an email telling them I had a really poor experience with one of their reps. And they gave me a new rep. At that point, though, I was like, nah, I'm good. I don't even want the tickets no more, right? Then, of course, this team gets sold, and Josh Harris comes in. And by the time all of that transpired and I was ready to re-up, my seats were gone. And the seats that were left, I wasn't really happy about. And then in order to get back on schedule, you have to pay a certain amount of money. And with the Twins, it just wasn't really feasible. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to probably have to sit on the sideline for this one. I'll probably get back in the game next year in terms of my season tickets. But fret not. All right. The reason I didn't tell you guys all of this is because I'm going to do my best to continue to give tickets away every single home game. Now, it may not happen every single game, but my goal is to make sure that it happens every game. I've got 2 tickets for this Arizona Cardinals game. Tomorrow on the live stream, we will be having you put in the comment section what you need to do to get those tickets. I'll be giving those tickets away on Thursday's show. All right. You'll have Thursday and Friday to claim those tickets. So I probably should have done it today, but I'll do it tomorrow. I'll be more prepared to do it tomorrow, but I got 2 tickets for you. I'm going to try to get 2 tickets for Buffalo, 2 tickets for Chicago, and so forth and so forth. So no need to fear. Your man Louie T is here, and I'm going to try to come through in the clutch for you guys. But in any event, I'm going to make sure that I do my part to put asses in seats, put butts in seats at home games. And now that there's no Daniel Snyder, I feel really good about doing so. So anyway, it's going to be a raucous environment week 1, and I want to make sure I do my part to make it tough on the Arizona Cardinals. So I will be giving away those tickets on Thursday. Hopefully, well, you know what? Forget about it. Use the hashtag Bloodbath in the comment section of this video. Hashtag Bloodbath. You got to be a member of the MOBB to be in the drawing, okay? To have a chance to win the tickets, you must be a member of the MOBB. Use the hashtag Bloodbath, and we will pick a winner on Wednesday's show. That's what we'll do. I don't want to string this thing out any further. Let's do it. Use the hashtag Bloodbath in the comment section of this video, and we'll draw a winner tomorrow to give away the 2 tickets to the Arizona Cardinals game. So that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on this installment of Commanders Nightly News. Feels good to be back on the CNN. Look forward to chopping it up with you guys all week long. Tomorrow we finally get a taste of the injury report, kind of see what's going on, kind of see where we are with some of these guys. If there are any other injuries that we weren't, privy to, because he didn't have to tell us, we could see 1 or 2 other guys crop up on this injury report that we didn't even know had something going on. So that will be something that we really will be focusing in on. We'll hear from Sam Howell tomorrow. He'll step up to the podium, as well as Ron Rivera yet again. And we'll go from there, and then we'll hit the ground running, and we'll really be into the meat and potatoes of things as we head into week number 1. Bart Scott! Can't wait. Until next time, y'all know what it is. Post up. Take command. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap. Hand to Riggins. Good hole. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35. The 30.